That's good. So I told Kim, I said, we'll go work at the law enforcement academy. She said, what? And he's trimming and stuff like that. So I've got that driveway all cleared off and looking better than ever. I said, I might even paint the hall downstairs. She said, you want to paint the house? I said, nobody will complain. If nobody wants to do it, everything like this. Thank you.
Haley. Got one seat for you and one seat for the relevant department head. All right.
Uh-oh, is this an inquisition? Is that?
Well, since we're not all around the big table, we'll give Lee the spotlight. So I'm just gonna call the roll for the work session. Mr. Rich.
Here.
Dr. Houghton. Here. Mr. Farley.
Here.
Mr. Fink.
Yes.
Brooms. Dr. Holliday. Here. Mayor Pizzell. Here. All right, you have a quorum.
All right, tonight we're just gonna go through any last concerns or questions or comments regarding the budget. I think we had consensus last time we met around most of the items. If you have some concerns you wanna raise or amendments that you might wanna think about for the regular meeting, let's go through that now so that we can have a smooth process as possible at the 7 o'clock meeting. So, anyone wanna open the floor? Yep.
We're gonna make any opening comments about the, Director of Developmental Services on the budget line? It just stays the same? Or-
Yeah, all that's gonna be like placeholder information, so yeah, any open positions, just consider that like a placeholder value,
Okay.
and then we'll just backfill.
Anything that I have actually is going, I've sent the emails prior to the meeting, so I'll just wait for the public time.
Do you have anything you wanna talk through, like an amendment or anything like that, or you good?
I think I'm pretty good in the sense of, once we get to the public section, then maybe there'll be more discussion, but I sent 2 emails, and, I do want to acknowledge that the 2 emails in reference, there was, Mr. Gessner followed up and gave me some background information, so I appreciate that. The other thing that I would say is Chief Gilreath. We had a lengthy conversation, so from the staff perspective, I want to say that they were, answered my questions per se. I still have others, which I just wait till later on for clarification. And then the other thing that I'd like to say before going into maybe any other is that this is amazing as far as the staff, research, the presentation, the 2 meetings we had before. So I think the good news for me is most of my questions and concerns were absolutely addressed through the process. And then you'll see later on, even with the holidays such as Juneteenth, those types of things. So there was a lot of action and a lot of input from the staff. So I want to just recognize that. And then my 2 areas of concern is the position in finance and the vehicles in public safety.
What was your first one?
I'm sorry?
What was your first one?
The position in finance.
Do you want me to talk about that now, or you want this one?
I can wait because I don't want to have to, we're going to the, we're going to the vote.
I do want to say thank you to everyone who's participated and worked hard on this. I think Wes and I were talking about that today. I think the staff has started their work on the budget back in February. So this is a lengthy process. A lot of thought goes into it. So it's it's a lot, but I think we've utilized a lot of the strategic planning initiatives and tried to look at the budget as a way to fund those. So I think it's been a very productive process.
Okay, I'd like to put something forward. First is, I'd like to make a motion to move $75,000 from the general fund to increase the STR study to $100,000. It's currently sitting at $25,000. We have discussed concerns about whether or not the RFP may come back as X, Y, or Z, and then the staff can figure out if there is an underage where that would go if we went back. But my recommendation is to take it from 25 to 100K.
So basically, if you remember, the STR study was just almost like a placeholder dollar amount. We talked during the budgeting process about, I guaranteed you that we would fully fund it, but this does at least commit that money to that initiative.
And, Dr. Holliday, in addition to the general fund, we looked at reserves, and there are 2 reserves that he thinks has enough fund. That would be the grant match reserve or the claims and judgment reserve. So if you
How
guys
much is
look,
in the grant match?
the grant match is sitting at 301,000, and the claims and judgments is around 190-ish. The number here reflects a 2026 contribution that won't actually roll over until 7/1. So it doesn't really have 869 in it till July 1st. So if we want to move that money, we can take it out of the general fund, or we can take it out of those reserves.
I'm categorically against the reserves.
And where did you want to move it from, Doc?
General fund.
Lee, do you have any recommendations there or any thoughts?
No, those are just our initial thoughts was reserves were there.
From an operational standpoint, this is not much of a hit on the general fund, right?
Just the add to unrestricted cash coming from the water fund loans.
And we can hit that even without, we could tap in that money even without moving it today.
You could potentially, yes. This just codifies it kind of in the budget, so you do not have to do that, and we've got money available.
Yeah, I understand.
My only reserve is that if we move it, it becomes spendable now, where if we wait for the exact figure, you have my commitment, like we talked about at the work session, I'll move whatever it takes to fund this study. If it goes over 100, I'll vote to move more, but if we move it and it ends up being 80, that's 20 that's available to spend, and I would rather just commit to whatever the number actually comes in and commit to moving that so that there's not extra
Actual cost.
that we end up having in this spendable line.
Yeah, I understand. I guess my concern is it's a slippery slope every time we start talking about the reserves. I mean, I hear it more and more and more that, well, we can use reserves, and I don't like it. And my concern is you be conservative on your number, and then you come back, and if there's an overage, Lee will find, obviously a way of rolling it back into operations and/or an overage, as we typically do have every year. But I am just against the reserves. And I've heard multiple conversations about this as well, outside of this study in particular, that it just feels like we always fall back that way. I don't like the precedents, and it's just my opinion. But that's my opinion. That's the first thing. There was another thing I want to talk about as well, but we can hold off until.
Where to do what you're talking about, where's the money come from to do what Councilman Holliday's talking about?
So currently, the 25 is budgeted in general government contracts.
Right.
We just plus.
The
that.
75 that he's talking about extra, where's it coming from?
So if he's proposing that, then it would be unrestricted cash. It would be an
Which is
additional-
reserves?
Which is general fund, unrestricted cash.
It's
So if we do it-
Unrestricted.
But it doesn't encumber us to have to spend that money, I guess. It's not changing the nature of that liquidity at that point with those funds.
Doesn't really, It's just codifies it in the budget, and we have that money there available, and council does.
How does it affect the balance sheet?
It's pretty minimal.
Okay.
So to your point, Bill, I think that money's already liquid.
Right, so it's liquid now and it's liquid later.
Yeah.
And later we could liquefy
the exact amount that we need. To do it now, we're just throwing another dart saying, well, it's 100, and maybe it's because it makes a statement to everybody that says, we're committed to this study regardless of cost.
I think that was the intention, I'm pretty sure.
So I don't worry much about statements. My word is, I'll vote for whatever it takes, and I'll vote for it later. I'd prefer later, but, you know, it's,
Yeah, I'm asking for the vote tonight. And also,
No, it'll be part of whatever we do.
yeah, I understand, but I'm asking for the consideration to make the motion tonight. And also, I agree from the standpoint, yes, we can lean into restricted funds, and yes, we can vote later, and yes, we can always make that retroactive. But I've done too many of these studies in my career, and I ain't never seen one come in at $25,000. And also, you know, there's a cacophony of activity on the backside of any study that also is gonna have the residue of cost. We don't know what that is. And I would rather err on the side of caution than err on the side of, you know, we have a hardwired number that we have to go back and rip it from reserves. I don't like the precedence, but that's my opinion. It's just my
but
opinion.
it doesn't, it's coming from the same place.
Not ripping reserves.
Yeah, our reserves are basically what we've created to earmark things for specific uses throughout the year, right? And we know we're gonna spend this money on this particular project or what have you, or we don't, and we kind of, special project is one of those, so they come up and council needs a pot of money to take from that it's been earmarked, and it's not dipping into the unrestricted balance that typically council's been real hesitant to attack because we've always been really methodical in building that for purposes like the water fund, like building that.
I mean, I don't like spending out of our savings either, right? So I think Councilman Holliday and I are on the same page there, but to take it now or take it later, it's still coming from the same place.
It's essentially.
Not really.
At least if you take it later, you can get the exact dollar amount. I don't like either way, to be honest with you, but if you take it then, take it later, you can get the exact dollar amount. If you put a number in there now and it comes in $50,000 less, that $50,000 is still budgeted for this fiscal year, and we could do anything we want with it. It would come up to buy something else later. The mayor can move 10% of any line item around however he wants to once it's in the budget. So that money will be spent. That will be extra money in the budget if you do it now. If you do it later, at least you get the exact dollar amount.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah, and
That's the motion that's on the table.
And you have my commitment that this is gonna go through, we've talked through this.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just categorically against reserve funds. I mean, I actually listened to my councilman next to me have a long conversation about how he spent 16 years building that fund for the beach renourishment problem, our issues, and all the issues we're having with respect to the integrity of our beach, and I completely agree with him. I mean, anytime we start dipping into dollars that we have been afforded to be able to save,
It does not touch beach.
I understand, but any kind of reserve request does require a different line item. I'm asking for general funds. That's the motion.
And just to give context, if we brought in $0 for the next 12 months, we could go for a whole year basically, based on the
Without
money.
running any capital improvement projects, that sort of thing, we can still keep the lights on.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm aware of
advocating
that.
that we blow it all, I'm just saying we are in a pretty good position right now.
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right. Or did you have another topic?
Yeah, the only other topic, well, there's one that I'm still kind of cajoling on, and I think it requires a conversation around public safety, life safety, and beach safety, more importantly, water safety, with respect to the recent drownings in the last couple of months. And not waiting around the county to come through, but my other concern is, and I've thought about this a lot, and that is, I still believe that the cost, or the COLA expenditure, or the COLA needs to be raised to 3%. I know we negotiated to 2.7. The more I've thought about it, the more I've really kind of been surprised at what's happening in terms of, you know, access to transportation, the cost of gas, diesel, the cost of fuel that's going up, and also look at your grocery bills. I don't know why a 3% would be a problem for our employees. And I personally believe that COLA needs to be at 3% and not at 2.7. Now, That's a 0.7%, no, 0.3% increase, more or less, over what we've discussed at the last meeting. And is it $15,000?
That's what we, right at 15.7.
Yeah, so I'd like to see 3% COLA.
Anybody have any discussion on that?
Lee, did you factor in for water and sewer as well?
So they're just talking general fund budget right now.
Gotcha.
Of course, we have a handful of employees that are employed strictly out of water and sewer.
I understand that.
So that's probably in the 3,000 to 4,000.
There'll be exceptions to that rule.
So COLA is cost of living, and during the previous budget process, I supported 3.0, so.
I'm good with moving to 3 if it helps advance it.
I have no problem with 3. It's not, it's on the margins for what it does to us, but it could be very helpful to the employees, so I have no problem.
And as a partner to that, when we had some budget excess funds at the end of the last meeting, we rolled them over into the general fuel account. And would you guys be acceptable when that motion comes around in the regular meeting, that this money be removed from the fuel accounts, spread across the city?
I don't know anything about the fuel account. I just need to see it. I don't know how it's used. It's used by public safety, the employees. I mean, maybe you can enlighten me on it. I don't. really
Yeah, so every department has a line item for fuel.
Yes.
It is an estimate every year based on fuel prices at the time the budget is made. Some years we're over, some years we're way under it, all because we can't control the price of gas. So if we raise the COLA and get that, let's call it $16,000–17,000 expense, spreading it across all the fuel would reduce the city's total fuel budget by $17,000. But of all the accounts, fuel is one of the most imprecise in terms of nailing it.
Yeah. I guess I missed it. Maybe I shouldn't have just said fuel. Maybe I should have just said what it is. It needs to be a cost of living increase of 3%.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
And
but
fuel is part of the conversation.
No,
So is
no, we're trying to figure out where we're gonna take
Okay,
the
so-
money from.
Oh, yeah, I get it. I
So
understand.
in
But
our
it-
previous discussion, we actually, if I believe it correctly, we had about $5,000 remaining. So the essential question is, that was left on the table, and so in order to balance it at closure, we actually allocated it there. However, if you're recommending to pull the 5 out per se, then pull the rest from across the board, that is what's on the table.
Yes, and that's what I was speaking of. So the cost of living increase of $16,000 has to be offset in the budget by reducing some other expense
Cost.
line. And so we're proposing to spread that expense
So-
over all the fuel lines.
Okay, so, sorry for the clarification, but again, how is fuel allocated to departments and how are they using it? They're not putting it into their vehicles. Is public safety putting it in their vehicles?
Yes, this is actually the fuel used to fuel city vehicles.
Okay, so any city vehicle,
Correct.
and every single employee has a city vehicle?
No.
So,
Okay.
Dr.
No.
Holliday, to be clear, the fuel that I'm speaking of is the actual expense for city operations. This isn't personal fuel or
Right.
personal expenses. So, last budget meeting, at the end of it all, we had an unbalanced budget with about $5,000, and we just spread across the fuel accounts for all city. This isn't related to personal use of fuel at all. This is just city operational expenses. And we put that extra money in the fuel account. So now we're looking at a $16,000 addition to the expenses that we need to offset somewhere in the budget. And we were proposing just to spread that across all the city's fuel accounts.
Because in order to.
we don't have
sorry,
another line
sorry,
item,
sorry.
because we had to balance the budget. So we have to offset that $16,000 somewhere in the budget. And since fuel fluctuates annually, monthly, weekly, it's always a best guess, how much fuel the garbage trucks will use this year or how much that'll cost. So that account is most likely to be able to absorb a modification in the budget.
What do you do when the cost of fuel goes to a point where you don't have enough of it? What do you do that?
That has happened a few years, and we just go over budget because we can't control it. So every year, it's based on a projection of the rolling average of the last few years. And some years when it spikes, we've gone under, and some over, and some years when it drops, we've been way under. But each year, the fuel line for each department is based on a rolling average of the fuel cost for the last few years.
Okay.
So which is the reason to offset it? Do you, if you have another area where you want to pull from, because basically what we're trying to do is add something and then decrease something else.
Yeah.
Do you have another line?
I would just, yeah, I guess maybe I would leave the discretionary of that decision up to the city administrator and the finance director. But I'd like to see the COLA raise to 3%.
Okay, so, but we actually have to do that as part of the motion, correct?
Yeah.
So what we are saying, just so that I'm clear, is that uh, we think what we're going to propose later on is a 3% increase in COLA to be offset by across-the-board line for fuel.
That would be my and Lee's recommendation, is the line item in here that's, the best way to say it, fuel is the most guess number of all the
Understand.
things in the budget. So if we were going to adjust one expense or one cost up or downward, it would be fuel.
Let's do
That would give us the latitude.
And we'd have that ability with also in the water fund, sewer, water fund particularly, to do that for
Right.
our employees on that side.
Again, where you pull it from is up to the discretion of you guys.
So you can make that motion, then we can amend it with the.
I will do that.
Okay.
Just, as everybody's saying, I'm still against that. I wasn't for the increase. Staff came in and we have, pay for a pay plan. Staff puts together everything, and the recommendation from staff was 2.2. It was brought up that we want to stay competitive with other cities in the area, and our administrator told us right now we're setting the bar and others are having a hard time keeping up with us. I voted against the raise from 2.2, and the consensus was to go ahead and raise it to 2.7, and now we're talking about raising it to 3, so I guess I remain more fiscally conscious and against a raise higher than what our HR staff and administrator recommended. I don't think we should go up to 3. If we're setting the bar and others having a hard time keeping up with us, our pay plan is working, we are competitive, we do pay a decent salary, and enough. That's all.
Anybody else have anything they want to raise?
Well, there's the issue around the beach, or the water safety, but I think we can have that conversation when we open up the conversation,
And I
or
think
during the,
That
that's
can,
what we're doing now.
that can be done based on this year's budget.
Yeah.
I don't know what that discussion is,
Well-
so are we going to talk about it now or later?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there's a dearth of applicants this year for lifeguard with the county. This is totally outside of the budget conversation. Since we brought it up, I'll bring it up. So they don't have applicants. So we're meeting with them Thursday with a couple of other local organizations, Respect the Break and Warrior Serve. So they had expressed interest in helping remedy some of the shortfall. Our conversation today with the chief was about how much it would cost and so forth to bring a fully funded lifeguard unit to Folly. It's exorbitant. What we should do is work within the framework we already have with the county and augment their salary rates so that they can find people to either off-duty fire people here on the beach or whoever, and just make that position more attractive so that we can fill those positions at least for the next 2.5 months of the summer. Because right now we have no lifeguards at the pier. We've already had a couple incidents, so that's what all that's about.
And that is because the county park cannot fill the vacancies?
That's correct.
Based on the fact that we are not potentially paying them enough per hour?
Based on the fact the county has the money, but their hourly rate's very low, so they're just not finding any applicants. So if we can help supplement that, again, this is another conversation, and it could come out of, like, some reserves we have with the, public safety budget for this year. This doesn't impact the budget we're talking about tonight, because that money's already in place.
County Park has more money than anybody.
Yeah, but we have
So
to
why
have,
would we pay to augment them when they could just step up and do what they're supposed to do to fund their program?
well, you can come to the meeting on Thursday morning, that would be great, it's at 9 o'clock. And again, this is a fluid situation, so I'm open to other suggestions, but I think we're trying to meet the problem head on So I think that's a very proactive approach to get the parties involved together. So yeah, you're more than welcome to come.
Just so that I'm clear though, okay, the meeting's on Thursday, and then would we have to have another meeting to take it out of this fiscal year, because July 1 starts the other one? So, are we straddling both? I'm just,
This is a totally different conversation than the budget conversation, but.
okay,
See,
so.
so there's money in like public safety reserve, I guess, of some type that we utilize.
For this particular purpose, it would be a little different. We'd have to get creative with it, how we'd wanna.
Get creative.
Yeah.
Because the problem is if we wait and go through first reading, second reading, then we're looking at August or September and
Mhm.
we've lost the summer, so we're
Yeah.
trying to expedite this if
Mhm.
possible.
Would it be accurate to say that in order to pay for it this fiscal year, should we choose to do so, it would need to come out of a current operating account, not a reserve? Because we have to come to a resolution in July if it comes out of reserve, council needs to vote on it as a resolution.
So this potentially could even be, I don't know what kind of dollar amount we're talking about.
Again, it's such a early on in the conversation that we haven't even broached it with the county, but we're just trying to come up with creative ways to address this situation.
If it would be, carry over into the next fiscal year, that sort of thing.
Do we have a rollover monies out of this year, though? We talked about rolling into the general fund. Is that available to be used for an emergency basis?
We do have, yes, again, unrestricted funds can be used, at any point at council's discretion.
And to roll over funds, there is a rollover resolution tonight with a few public works things. So if Lee and Andrew could use the time between meetings, they could maybe suggest some underspent accounts in public safety that could be rolled over, or within the limits of the allowable spending limits. There could just be money in here that public safety hasn't spent this year in an account, which that would be an allowable use for it, and they can just spend with no additional anything.
Yeah, we're trying to get to this so that we don't have to wait till second reading and middle of July or August, September.
So what I breached with the mayor was that I'm concerned about several things related to safety in the waters of Folly, okay? And I don't believe, and I won't speak for anybody, although I just heard my councilman say, why doesn't the county pay for this? I would agree with that. However, I don't know if we can wait around them to make that decision. I don't even know if we can wait around till Thursday to make that decision. I'm concerned that maybe a comprehensive strategy or maybe a comprehensive safety strategy, Mr. Mayor, might be something to think about. So, 1, lifeguards, 2, signage, maybe better signage, maybe increase fines, maybe stop the drone fishing, maybe stop, maybe use some more common sense in terms of lifeguards and how we pay for them or where we put them. But I'm wondering if we're one step away from a potential liability of this island if somebody gets eaten by a shark. And what I'm very concerned about, on top of all of this, is the fact that we're waiting on the county to make a decision. I don't want to wait on the county. I want to move on it now, and I want to move on a comprehensive strategy now. I don't know that we can work that out between now and then.
There's no, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, the
Yeah.
quickest way home to address it now is work with the county. But I think if you're interested in working, with public safety to explore some other options, long-term, I'm fine with it. But for this year, that we're gonna have to work within the framework of the county if we want to get something done for the summer.
And I did also speak to the chief as well as the mayor about the potential for these water drones that are out there. I know the county has one. Maybe we pick one up as well. Maybe there's some drones that can be manned by whoever. They can help with saving lives out there. Again, I just don't want to see another disaster. It's been 1 a month so far. So that's my concern. I'd love to see some kind of a comprehensive safety strategy on top of what the county is going to gift us, which is right now nothing with the lifeguards. But assuming that we get something from them on Thursday, because I did see that email earlier from the county, I think it was to Respect the Break, that was an amiable email, but I don't know if that's they're gonna put their money where their mouth is.
I think the money's allocated, they just couldn't find people. So I think if we raise it to the point where we can staff it, then it will be funded.
Okay.
I just think I might be confused here, okay? So who is responsible to pay the lifeguards? Okay.
County
so
park
the-
project.
Okay, so it's county park. The county park is saying, we can't fill the positions because we've lowballed their hourly rate. Have they said that they refuse to actually solve that within their system because they have the vacancies?
No, because we're talking to them on Thursday morning at 9 a.m.
For what purpose?
To try to hash out the details
Ask
of how
those
we move
questions.
forward from where we are right now.
So,
That could be a conversation. Why don't you, yeah.
so that could be the
Yeah.
conversation.
That would be-
Okay, so that could be the conversation, and we don't even have to find any money. And that is maybe where I'm gonna end my conversation. So,
Yeah,
So-
right now, this is so preliminary that it's not really,
okay,
I can't speak to specifics.
okay. So, however,
So not
let's
having anything to do with the budget,
okay, it really doesn't,
which
okay.
is what the work session's about.
Well, except that I think it does have everything to do with the budget, because if we develop some kind of overarching comprehensive safety strategy on top of what the county is gifting us, then it includes things like the chief is gonna be talking about tonight around buying drones that pop around the water to rescue people, okay? Or working on better signage, increased signage, higher fines, things around, more safety equipment, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what they all are. I'm just
Well,
spitballing what
the
they
the problem was that people got caught in rip currents and they were too close to the pier.
Right.
That's the problem.
Oh, I know.
Okay, it wasn't like they were randomly on 8th block and just went out in the water and couldn't swim. They didn't know how to get out of a rip current, that is a problem, but it wasn't our people, it was Charleston County people, which is why they agreed at the beginning to put some lifeguards on both sides of the pier to help keep people away from it and all that. We need to hold them to their program and their word. They need to come up with this money. Now, if we want to develop another program that sends them further out, I hear you, and let's talk about that. But that's their program, they need to be held to finish their program. If we can help them find people to work it, well, that's one thing. But as far as finding funds and doing all that for their program, I was gonna say, I mean, their donation to us for beach preservation is gotten low again. We need to go after them for more parking money for that. And if you don't think they're gonna take those lifeguards and put them down at the Coast Guard at the county park instead of right here, you're crazy.
I think the good news is we actually will have to wait for the outcome of the meeting on Thursday.
Right, probably in tandem with maybe coming up with some kind of recommendations to the county when the mayor, what is it? You say it's Thursday?
Thursday,
Okay.
9 o'clock.
When the mayor meets with them and, we take our wish list, I guess, right, Chris, to them and say, hey, you know, here's the things that
And
need
again,
to happen.
2 groups locally have offered to help, so it's not like, there's a lot on the table, so I think there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. That's all I have.
And where it would intersect with this budget, if, for example, the outcome of all this was Folly Beach wants to stand up their own lifeguards, we've priced out what other towns pay for it. Acknowledging that if the outcome of the planning process is we'd like to stand up our own lifeguards on 5 miles of beach, that will have a cost that will not be able to be enacted until next fiscal year. And that's kind of how this intersects. And so it's just a weird timing issue.
But I think that could be part of this. I want to address the immediate, and then we could take our time to develop any kind of other solutions around that. We good? All right, 27 minutes.